Did any of you see the interview this morning, Richard Madeley and Susanna Reid versus George Galloway? I say versus because it was something of a fight, really. Did you see it? Now look, let me say this. I don't know very much about politics. I've said that on many occasions. You'll know that I know even less than I'm saying I do within the next 3 or 4 minutes when I say what I'm going to say. But I'm not a follower of George Galloway in any shape or form. I think he's one of them fellas, like some of the people that I have on here visiting here, a disruptor, someone that just wants to cause grief and upset people. I think he can be very much that way. I do also think he's probably a pretty clever fella. He's got to be to win as many elections as he has done and to get so many people on his side. For all he gets loads on his side, there's a lot more throughout the country that dislike him. But he's good at what he does to some respects. Anyway, seeing the interview this morning, I've read a report on it already on one of the media channels, and it's saying it was a car crash. And Richard and Susanna did a terrible job. It was weird. I watched the thing and I really enjoyed it. And in a weird way, I thought all three of them came out of it really, really, really well. And also, sort of slightly badly. Now, let me explain. I know that sounds weird, but they was asking old George things from 30 years ago, which he didn't really want to answer. He wanted to answer about things in the now. And then they were asking things about 10 years ago. Again, he didn't want to answer. He wanted to answer in the now. He wanted to talk about things that are happening now. And they weren't asking him the questions he wanted. But that said, when he got pushed and pushed and pushed, he said, look, I always said we shouldn't have gone to war with Iraq. I told everybody that. I was outspoken. Blair didn't like it. He got rid of me. He said, but ultimately, I've been proved right. Everybody's now against Blair and says we shouldn't have gone to war in Iraq. Couldn't disagree with him on it. Couldn't disagree at all. All Richard said there's something where he's done an interview with Saddam Hussein, that's George Galloway, praising him Saddam Hussein and saying he's a nice fella and so on and so forth. He didn't quite refute that, but Richard was saying, how can you say that about somebody that was really just a tyrant? You know, there'll be, for some that liked him, there'll be hundreds of thousands of millions that didn't. And I think I'd be with Richard on that one. And then he was saying something about, or Susanna was, there's somebody from, is it from BNP or ex from BNP, the Black, is it the National Party, whatever it is, or no, the British National Party, Black National Party. What am I talking about? See, told you I know now. Somebody that endorsed him in his recent election win was it Rochdale? I think it was Rochdale. And he's saying, the guy never endorsed me at all. He put a comment out, a tweet up or whatever else, saying that, glad that I won it and whatever else. He said, I barely know the fella. I've not asked him to endorse me. I've not asked him to make any comments. He said, you say I'm a Hamas lover and a lover of Muslims. He says, the thing is, he said, you tell me all that. He said, why would a guy from the BNP say, well done to me then? He said, the BNP ain't going to like Muslims, are they? He said, but as I say, I have nothing to do with the BNP. I have nothing to do with this guy. And then they went on to say, what else did they say? They said something else that was pretty good. Do you know, I already have forgotten. See, this is the problem with working with no script. They had him on something else, and I thought, I think they're out of order there. I think he answered it really, really well, and he answered most of the questions they leveled at him really, really well. Oh, that's it. They were saying, and you're a Muslim, you support Muslims, you're a Muslim. He said, I'm not even going to answer that. There's no reason for him to answer it. And they pushed him and pushed him. He said, I'm not a Muslim. I've never been a Muslim. And Richard said, well, it's all over. Is it Wikipedia or whatever else? It's all over everywhere, wherever you look. He said, it might be all over there, but I'm not. He said, I'm a Roman Catholic, and I'm a practicing Roman Catholic, and I'm a proud Roman Catholic, and that's all I've ever been. I've never been a Muslim. I never wanted to be a Muslim. I might support some of the things towards Muslims and some in the fight against Israel at the moment and support them in certain ways. And then they said, they kept trying to push, how do you feel about when Hamas invaded and did what they did to the Israelis there? And he said, I don't think they did right. I wasn't on the side over that. But what I'm saying now is what's happening over there now is just too far the other way and it's too much. But I thought he'd come out of it really well, and it's weird because I wouldn't want him to really grill him and to have a real go at him. And I wanted him to come out of it really, really badly. Because a lot of what Richard and Susanna were saying to him, I thought was legit and was true. And I think he's that divisive and that disliked by certain people. People do write things about him and do assume things about him that aren't necessarily the truth. And I don't know, it surprised me about how well he came out of it. That said, as I say, I think he is somebody that is a disruptor and somebody that enjoys upsetting people and likes to get his own way in such a way he gets it by using other folk to bid for him and whatever else. And I think that's what he's done in Rochdale. You know, I think he had a massive Muslim vote on the back of the things he was saying, and he pushed that envelope really good style. But as I say, it was a weird interview. If you've not had a chance to see it, it was on GMB this morning. I'd say to anybody, go and watch it. It's probably 7 to 10 minutes of, I'd say it's almost TV gold. I thought it was really good. How wrong am I, folks? As I say, I'm not a political person. I'm really not. Probably someone going to say to me, he's horrible, he's bad, he's this, he's that, he's the other. I don't know. I'm just basing it on what I saw today. And by the way, I'm not against Muslims the same way I'm not against Jews. I've said this in the past. You know, I think it's awful what's happening over there now in Gaza. I think it's absolutely awful. I think it's gone much too far. But as I've said, had Hamas not have done what they've done, and 6 or 8 months ago, whatever it was now, we'd never got to here. And maybe they had to do things, and maybe they are oppressed. I honestly don't know, as I'm not that clever. But what they did was way too far, way a step too far. And unfortunately, all their people now are suffering on it more than probably Hamas are themselves. But anyway, that's not for me to discuss. And as I say, I don't know lots about that. I'm just looking from the outside looking in, and that's all I see. But I've not got my foot in any camp, be it Jewish or Muslim. I've really not. But for old George might have both feet in one camp. I still thought much of what he said today made a lot of sense, and I do think maybe he's been vilified for some, maybe for the wrong reasons, because I think many of us are guilty about what we're reading and hearing about him, and based on the interview I seen this morning, maybe, just maybe, it isn't all the truth. I don't know. As I say, what do you think? It's a bit overserious for me, this one, and probably I'm out of my depth here, but I've given it a go on now, and nothing wrong with giving it a go, folks, nothing at all.